Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we heartily welcome you all to the results update call of SBI Life Insurance Company Limited for the period ended September 30th, 2020. Along with me on this call are Mr. Sangramjit Sarangi, President and CFO, Mr. Anand Pejawar, President Operations and IT, Mr. Abhijit Gulanikar, President Business Strategy, Mr. Subhendu Bal, Chief Actuary and Risk Officer, and Mr. Pritesh Chaubey, Appointed Actuary. I'll give you an update on our financial results, the key highlights, and the financial results can be accessed on our website as well as on the websites of both the stock exchanges. So the highlights are that new business premium stands at 90 billion. Renewal premium has shown a strong growth of 29% and stands at 117.3 billion. Protection new business premium is at 9.1 billion. Annuity new business premium witnessed 220% growth and stands at 15.7 billion. Profit after tax has grown a strong growth of 38% and stands at 6.9 billion. Value of new business is 7.5 billion and the VONB margin is 18.8% on an actual tax rate basis. The Indian embedded value stands at 298.6 billion on actual tax rate basis as on September 2020. Beg your pardon. A growth of 21% compared to September 19. On effective tax rate basis, the value of new business is 8 billion and VONB margin is 20.2%. The EV stands at 312.7 billion, a growth of 20%. Assets under management stand at 1,863.6 billion, registering a growth of 20%. So we'll talk about each of these elements in detail. So coming to premium, the second quarter witnessed very strong signs of recovery in new business sales as containment measures were eased. Maintaining private market leadership position in new business premium, we collected new business premium of 90 billion and marked private market share of 24.5%, an improvement of 267 basis points over last year. Non-par new business premium has grown 51% and stands at 58.9 billion. Individual rated new business premium stands at 33.2 billion, private market share of 20.7%. Group new business premium marked a growth of 61% and stands at 47.9 billion with private market share of 30.4%. The renewal premium grew by 29% to 117.3 billion, which accounts for 57% of the gross written premium. Individual renewal premium has grown by 30%, reflecting the quality of our in-force business and the compounding effect of our focus in regular premium products. Also, earnings through quality renewal business have helped our distributors, especially our agents, to weather the financial impacts of the pandemic. Our gross written premium stands at 207.3 billion, a growth of 22%. Annualized premium equivalent is 39.8 billion. Now coming to the product mix, non-par has shown a growth of 51% with a share of 65% in the new business premium. Individual ULIP business constitutes 65% of the individual new business premium. Individual protection is at 2.7 billion, registering a growth of 13%. Group protection stands at 6.4 billion. On APE basis, protection contributes 13% of new business and registered a growth of 23%. Annuity business is at 15.7 billion, growth of 220% and contributes 17% of new business premium. ULIP momentum has picked up well in the second quarter. We are hopeful that this trend will further improve. Guaranteed non-par savings product is contributing 10% of individual new business and just 4% of the total new business collected. We will continue to grow all profitable lines of businesses. Distribution partners, bancassurance business marks a share of 66% in individual new business premium, and the second quarter registered a growth of 136% over the first quarter. Total number of CIFs stands at 49,864 as on 30th September 2020. Instant protection policy issuance through YONO app of SBI has covered more than 4 lakh lives, that is 400,000 lives. Agency channel, another strong channel of the company, contributes 28% in individual business premium, and in the second quarter registered a growth of 68% over the first quarter. Our total number of agents stands at 1,54,158 as on September 30th, 2020. During the period, other channels, including the direct, corporate agents, brokers, online and web aggregators, grew by 87% in terms of individual new business premium. Protection premium through other channels registered a growth of 79%. For further strengthening our reach, we have tied up with Yes Bank in this quarter. Coming to profitability, the company's profit after tax for the period ended 30th September 2020 is at 6.9 billion as compared to 5 billion in the previous period ended September 30, 2019, registering a strong growth of 38%. Our solvency remains strong at 245% as on September 30th, 2020. As mentioned in my opening remarks, value of new business is 7.5 billion on actual tax rate basis, and on effective tax rate basis, this works to 8 billion. This is an outcome of better product mix even after registering a decline in APE. VONB margin is at 18.8% on actual tax rate basis, an improvement of 70 basis points, and on effective tax rate basis, it stands at 20.2%. The embedded value stands at 298.6 billion on actual tax rate basis, a growth of 21% YOY, and on effective tax rate basis, this is 312.7 billion. This reflects a very strong quality of our in-force business. Operational efficiencies, we continue to be one of the most cost-efficient companies. It has improved with the OPEX ratio reducing from 6.4% in the H1 FY20 to 5.4% in H1 FY21. Our 13-month persistency ratio is 85.9% as compared to the corresponding last year figure of 85.8%. And the 61st month persistency is at 60.9%, much higher than the last year's figure of 57.5%. On regular premium basis, 13th month persistency stands at 83.2% and 61st month persistency stands at 50%, an improvement of 144 basis points vis-a-vis the previous year. With an initial option to pay premium at later date, our persistency has remained very stable in spite of that. The total assets under management having crossed 1.5 trillion mark towards the beginning of the financial year is now at 1.863 billion as on September 30th, a growth of 20% as compared to the same period last year. The company continues to drive digital expansion across the country with 98% of the individual proposals being submitted digitally and 24% individual proposals being processed through automated underwriting. In addition to daily agency activities, we moved our end-to-end agent recruitment and training capabilities online. Customer satisfaction is a key focus area. Our grievances with respect to unfair trade practice stands at 0.07%, one of the lowest in the industry. As the economy is on its path of recovery from the global pandemic, we are focused on our commitment to digitalization and providing uninterrupted services to our valued customers. Our continued focus on automation, protection business, enhancing distribution network, and customer satisfaction enables wealth maximization for all our stakeholders. Thank you very much for patiently listening, and now we are happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1. First question is from the line of Sanket Goda from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Just a couple of questions. One on the VNB margin, the minus 1.2% impact on the VNB margin due to operating assumption changes. Can you just break it down into how much is related to reinsurance rate hardening on protection business, COVID-related provisionings, and any other assumptions which you have changed with respect to OpEx or persistency? So that is my first question. Second question is on, it's a data keeping question, largely related to how can you break down that EV walk into unwind operating variance number and how much economic variance contributed to the 21% growth in EV? And third is on non-par business. Just wanted to understand, given the whole industry is chasing that business, non-par business, especially the savings part, not the annuity part, we seems to be little skeptical on growing that business because we did 230 crores last year in AP terms, first quarter. We continue to do only 240 crores while the industry is doing much bigger number. So just wanted to understand your thought process, why we are little reluctant to grow our non-par savings business, that is Platina product basically. Yeah, these are my questions.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Golaji, for your question. I will start with the third question first. As far as growing non-par business is concerned, non-par business is, one of the features of this business is that there is a guaranteed return. And towards the beginning of the year, our products, we were selling the product which was already available with us, and it was very attractive at that point of time because the returns were available at a time when, in the pandemic, everybody was unsure about what will happen, etc. And so we were able to sell that. But then, this has a bearing on our long-term performance, and we cannot actually hand over profits to one set of our customers at the cost of the others in the future. So what we have done is we have slightly repriced the product, and in the meantime, I think what has also happened is that we have a range of other products which are very attractive. So we have been able to focus on that entire bouquet of products. We have products for each and every category of customers, and we have product focused on all those. Because what happens is that if you skew the basket with only one product, what happens is that this will catch up with you later when this will affect your performance going forward, maybe in the next year or something like that. This is not something which our company believes in. So we are not very gung-ho about that. But at the same time, we have a very good product that is Platina and Platina Assure, and that sells very well. But at the same time, like I said, we don't want to guarantee anything which we will regret in the future. So that's why I think that the sales of non-par is slightly subdued, in the second quarter, and this is part of the plan. We are a little bit skeptical about, going the whole hog in some of these guaranteed products. So we will take your question on the VNB margin.
Yeah. But sir, on this question.
Hello?
Yeah, but sir, sorry, continuation on that question. Sir, just wanted to understand because market has very, very favorable FRA market available right now, conducive market. Maybe the supply of partial paid debentures is there. So the hedging is quite possible at the current juncture. So just wanted to understand, is it you are looking it from the long-term perspective and avoiding it, or you think that hedging itself is not fully possible in this particular product, and therefore you are avoiding to have a balance sheet risk? And if that's the case, what is the percentage of pure saving non-par guarantee? I mean, excluding annuity, you want that business to be as a percentage of your total AP from a strategy point of view.
Yeah, Sanket, you can take the
Sanket, just to give you the background that in the non-par savings, we have actually grown by 20%. And if I bifurcate between the two lines of business, annuity and Platina, which is our non-par guaranteed savings, non-par guaranteed savings, we have actually grown by more than 30%. This is the last year, half year ending September FY20. So our focus is on, and as far as the hedging strategy is concerned, we are actually done with the partly paid bonds, and we're also supposed to enter any time the agreements because the ISDAs and all are ready. So within the next week or so, we are entering into the FRA agreement with multiple banks. So we are not anyway restricting ourselves as far as the non-par guaranteed savings are concerned. We are growing. First quarter, it was a bit skewed because the other line of businesses have not shown growth. But this quarter, if you see, it is also considering the growth in other products. We are also still growing on this non-par guaranteed savings product. So there is no any second thought on this kind of product as far as our overall balance of mix is concerned.
Yeah, but I still think that, our strategy of selling all our good products and not just focusing on one product is a very strong, a very sustainable kind of thing. And this is what we propose to continue doing.
Yeah. So as far as your VNB related question is that if you look at it, the change in operating assumption is exactly 1.2%, exactly the same as it was last quarterly results has been published. And as I told you at that time also, when you do this VNB movement year on year basis, we generally change our assumption setting only year end. So basically from the last quarter, this quarter if you look at it, there are no change in the assumption or operating assumption. However, that 1.2%, it is the risk margin we have kept through the CRNHR because the COVID-19 impact, if there any impact comes in future. We exactly explained last time. So that's because there is no other change in assumption during this quarter, that 1.2% is still carrying on as a part of there. And if every assumption, everything gets little bit of ups and downs, automatically in the year end, that will be impacted. As far as your reinsurance premium is concerned, as last time I told you, the reinsurance premium has a little lower impact in our case, with our overall amount of the coverage much lower. As you know, our protection product, there are quite a few products. The return of premium, all those things are not reinsured at all. Only reinsured to the extent of pure individual protection. There also overall sum assured is much lower than the generally competitors, etc. So to having said so, there are some impact will be there, but exactly we have not exactly segregated that line, and because that impact is very minimal. But having said so, only at the year end, if all the assumption everything coming the similar way, internally what is fund, it looks like the similar way, but only and you have to wait till the 31st March. If everything goes up, then this 1.2% will be exact figure will be coming on. As per your IV part is concerned, actually we have not disclosing the AUM so far, not able to do it. But roughly you can say that your economic variance and all those parts will be roughly around 5% among this 20% growth. But that exact calculation will be only available after we complete this AUM part. As soon as it completes, we will already try to give it to share to everybody.
Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Sanket. I'll request you to come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. A request to all the participants, please restrict to one question per participant. If time permits, please come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. Next participant is Deepika Mundra from JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you, sir. Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity. Sir, firstly, my first question is just on the distribution side. Could you talk about the trends that you're seeing in the month of September across banca and agency in terms of growth? And also, if you could highlight, what is the productivity in terms of individual new business in agency and banca in the quarter and trending in the month of September?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. So in agency, we'd like to, the growth, the trend is that we are growing. Of course, compared to last year in the initial period, we had negative growth. But if you look at month-on-month trend, we are growing. So in August 20, agency we had 231 crores. September we had 282 crores. So this is, we see a very positive trend going forward. July was 247 crores, so it has been a good trajectory. And in banca, if you see, it was 842 in July 20, 945 in August, and 1374 in September. So as you can see, the trend is very, very positive going forward. And what we think is that this trend is likely to continue. Maybe not such a steep growth, but there will be growth month on month, and with our strategies and the products that we have, I think we will by the end of the year we will come to some kind of positive growth, because we can already see that if we just achieve our internal targets, we should be achieving positive growth by the end of the year.
Understood, sir. And sir, secondly, if I can just follow up with that, on the protection growth that you have seen in the quarter, how much of that you think would be like a catch-up effect from 1Q? And in the individual business in particular, how much is the share from YONO?
YONO is a very small proportion of total premium, though number of lives are very large, but ticket sizes are smaller. So we have grown 58% on a rated basis in individual premium in Q2 compared to Q2 of last year. So credit life is same as last year, and individual protection is 58% higher than last year. And YONO goes into our GTI product, which get mixed with our employer-employee and all other products also. There also we have shown growth.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Next question is from the line of Madhukar Ladda from HDFC Securities. Please go ahead.
Thank you for taking my question. So I'm looking at the interest rate sensitivity, and for rates going higher by 100 basis points, the VONB is now declining versus at the end of FY20, where it was the movement was positively correlated with interest rates. What is causing this change?
This is basically the actual business mix, to be frank. As you know that at that point of time, your total business mix is there. Currently, this particular quarter, our overall non-par protection product has been including the protection business. So basically, this is due to the business mix change only. And if you look at it, how much it was last time, though the direction change, it is coming almost 0.2%, very, very low amount. So this is basically the business mix. We have to really wait for some more time and 1 or 2 more quarters to look at it, whether it can stabilize over there or not.
But in general, should it be positively correlated?
It depends on the product to product. I mean, if it is a price-sensitive product of a particular product, like say annuity types of product, or suppose guaranteed product, but it's not properly hedged, and FMC business, if it is going like that stuff. So which type of product based on that? But as soon as your product mix is really different, your every product has a different direction. So your business mix come into picture, overall sensitivity. But this is sensitive for the company as a whole.
Right. And so when I look at your persistency, all buckets have sort of improved except for the 49th month. Is there something, what's happening over there?
Yeah, I think, there is not too much to be read into that. It's a very marginal change. So what happens is that, across the board the persistency increases, but then persistency is also a factor of the renewal persistencies of the previous years. So there will be some base effect coming out there. So I don't think there is anything significant, to look at. But if you look at across the board, except the 49th month, you will see that there is an increasing trend. And we think this is only because of the base effect. So that's the analysis we've done.
Got it. All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question is from the line of H.X. Frederick from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. Sir, my question is with respect to steps taken on increasing the productivity of banca. So during some of the checks, I've come across some of the branches being upgraded to Super Turbo branches. So how many Super Turbo branches are there, and is it one of the key strategies to improve productivity at the SBI banca level?
Turbo branches are a small proportion of total branches we have. So not even 5% of the branches are Super Turbo. But in selective geographies where the branches are large, we are selectively increasing. For Super Turbo, we had not increased for 4 years in a row. This is the first year we are increasing Super Turbo after 4 years. So in select geographies like city like Bombay or Delhi, where there are large branches and we think there is more potential to be exploited, is where we have increased Super Turbo branches. Otherwise, our strategy, our banca model remains that one BDM or one frontline sales manages multiple branches within SBI.
Okay, sir. And on Credit Protect,
that is not the main productivity driver. It is a incremental, fine tuning of the strategy.
Okay, sir. Okay. And you have, if you can just convey some of the strategies you have on improving the banca productivity, you can point to something or...
Banca, the strategy remains the digitalization. Is one way. There is more coming on There is digitalization in terms of analytics, which is coming. On terms of renewal, we are seeing significant improvement over last few years through analytics. Now we see new business also. There will be a significant increase in analytics. Selling to existing customer, upselling to, there we have seen some good traction. We are not disclosing that numbers to public, but internally we are tracking. We are seeing significant improvement both in agency and banca to upsell to existing customer. That strategy will continue. So it is a combination of analytics plus a product optimization plus some of the things like Super Turbo alignment that we have said. We have also done bank, if you are aware, has done something called FIMM for alignment with financial inclusion in rural areas. So there also we are doing alignment to align our strategy with SBI strategy.
Understood, sir. On Credit Protect attachment rates from June to September, can you share some numbers?
So now it is 46% and now Credit Protect is coming back. Q2 Credit Protect numbers are same as last year. There is no change. First quarter we had seen a decline. We hope that, as the bank disbursement increases and there are initial trends on home loans increasing, we do see traction coming back to Credit Protect.
Understood, sir. So we have been pretty good at PAR products, but recently we are slightly lagging behind that. What is our strategy to top up PAR?
So, see, as Mr. Sharma said, that our strategy is to sell all products, whatever is suitable to customer. So,
ladies and gentlemen, please stay connected. The line for the management is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We have the line for the management connected back. So you may go ahead.
Sorry. So there is, we are not de-emphasizing PAR. It is that at the moment people are finding non-PAR savings guarantee little more attractive than PAR, and that is selling. That is the, sum and substance of, what we are trying to do on. See, and also what happened is in the last product recycle that happened in last quarter of FY 19-20, some of the PAR products, to increase value to the customer, we discontinued some of the shorter term products and made the term little longer. So at the margin, we have lost some protection, but that is in customer's interest and in line with SBI Life strategy.
Okay, sir. Understood. Thank you very much for that, sir. That helps.
Thank you very much. Next participant is Abhishek Saraf from Jefferies India. Please go ahead.
Yes, thanks for the opportunity. Good evening, everyone. So I have two questions. So if you can just explain on the protection side, this quarter we have seen very strong growth in Term Protect. So how much of it is coming primarily on volume, or we also had price increase like the players have done? The reason I ask is that last quarter probably...
One second, I couldn't hear that clearly. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, sure. Am I more audible now?
Yeah.
So my question was on Term Protect. So we have had 58% growth this quarter. So what explains this in terms of how much of it is coming through volume, and if we have also had some price increase, so if you can give some color on that. And secondly, the solvency ratio has expanded at a good pace. So is it primarily to do with the fact that our growth is right now subdued, or there is more to it that one should see into it?
So protection growth, one line answer is coming mainly from volume, not so much from price increase. Number of policies have increased in the same proportion.
Okay, and would be largely the return of premium products that we are writing, right? And or could there be more color?
Have increased quite fast, but their base is small. So it is not really showing in the overall numbers, because TROP is also growing fast and other products are growing faster but on small base, so they don't really affect the numbers overall basis.
Solvency.
On solvency.
Solvency basically it has been increased because of the market only. There are not much more. If you look at this 31st March when it is down that, after that what happened, the business has been done very properly. So because of that, the overall solvency rate is increased due to the market up only. So it's actually 2.39 was the last quarter, and it's coming to 2.45. So for the quarter as such, there are not much more changes.
Okay, thanks for that. If you can give me some breakdown for the Group Protect in terms of the absolute number for this quarter for GTI and Credit Protect, if you can share that, and what it was in the same quarter last year.
So Credit Life is same roughly as I said you, 330 crores for both, and in GTI it was 200 crores. GTI was 200 crores versus 490 crores. So 490 crores this time, 200 crores last time.
So the overall protection we have done 910, okay, and out of this, in the group protection is 643 crores. The GTI is almost 100 crores, and Credit Life is 476 crore, and others totally 66 crores.
This is the first half number, Sangram.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Thanks a lot for this.
Thank you very much. Next participant is Adarsh from CLSA. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so couple of questions. One of your competitors have put out a long duration par product, and most companies end up replicating products over a period of time. So what's your view on, say, a 40, 50-year-old term par product, and whether you want to replicate it? And the second question is, unit growth kind of come back or improved in the second quarter. What's your expectation? I know that you are kind of more tech, but what's your expectation of unit growth as we go along?
Yeah, well, we couldn't hear very clearly towards the end of the question, so I'll probably ask you to repeat it after the first part. So the first part is very easy to answer. We don't look at what the competitor is selling. And we are not definitely going to do what somebody else is doing, especially selling long duration products, especially 33, 36 years or something, which I think the par that you are talking about comes to. So we are not interested in that, and we are not going to go that line. So that, and as far as I understood your second question, you are asking about how we look at the growth happening in the coming couple of quarters. So
Q2 products per se.
Yeah, anything?
No, sir, I was just saying that I asked more from a ULIP perspective, if you can just highlight.
Yeah, so ULIP, we are selling ULIP, we are looking at, seeing an uptick in ULIP sales, and we are very confident that the ULIP will continue to be a healthy proportion of our sales. We have good ticket sizes. Ticket sizes are also increasing. In fact, I believe the average ticket size is more than last year. So the portent is very good, and we think that we'll do pretty well in ULIP sales going ahead.
Sir, and last question is technical on the VNB walk. We've historically indicated that mix gives a VNB improvement, but there is a drag from the interest rate side, and historically we've indicated that drag is because of the timing of the pricing of the non-par saving product, right? Like when you price it and you actually sell it. Given that now there is stability, ideally at some point that drag should go away, right? Because interest rates, while it's headed down, it's been less volatile than where we were last year. So ideally, I would have thought that interest rate drag, as rates remain stable, will start kind of going off. So what's the view on that?
Now, what I will say, as you know, that the economic assumptions part, RFR rate has been getting changed, always we told. Even if you can look at the last quarter, also mentioned the similar lines. So last year versus current year, RFR rate has been decreased, everybody knows. And if you really recall it, last time it was around minus 3.9, around 4% or so negative. That is coming now around 2%. So logically, to be frank to you, it is improving because market is getting improving. RFR rate impact is there. However, exact details, all other work, we have to really do much more and have to wait for some time how it is moving on. So overall, economic assumption part, if the market going up and average value is coming out, it will be comes back on again. So as of now, it's very difficult to say any comment on this. But yeah, only we can say that from last quarter to this quarter, if you look at it, there's some improvement on the this change in economic assumption impact.
Correct. So, but historically, when we discuss the interest rate sensitivity, it's not, the rate sensitivity is not as high as what the VNB, walk shows. So historically, the justification always was that it is caused by the timing gap between when the product is launched and when it's priced and it's sold.
Sorry to interrupt you once again.
Subhendu, I'll probably request you to take it offline with others, so that you can have a complete discussion on this thing.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'll take it.
I'll request you to take it up with Subhendu, separately.
Perfect, sir. Thank you. I'll take it offline. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. A request to all the participants, please restrict to one question per participant. If time permits, please come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. Next participant is Nischint Chawathe from Kotak. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm actually trying to kind of, look at your first half numbers, separating them in the first quarter and the second quarter. And I think if I look at it, the margins for the first quarter, second quarter, first quarter and first half has broadly been similar. Kind of indicates that margin in the second quarter was similar, maybe in fact a tad higher. Now, if I look at the business mix, you have done significantly more ULIP in the second quarter, or to be precise, share of ULIP in the APE mix has actually gone up to 60% in the second quarter from 48% in the first quarter. So ideally, your margin should have gone down, there should have been some change in the margins, but somehow when I look at the first quarter and the first half, or first quarter and the second quarter, there is practically no change in the margin, although there is a significant change in the product, the overall product breakup.
See, the protection percentage has gone up, if you see. And
not really, sir. Quarter on quarter, it's same, right?
Yeah, the percentage is the same, but the number, the actual, the numbers of protection, because there is a quantum jump in the total business that has been done vis-a-vis the first quarter. So the protection, which has got a huge margin, so that has actually compensated for the increase in ULIP, because it is not only ULIP which has grown, everything else has grown, ULIP has grown more. Okay, so but protection has sort of balanced the margin part of it.
Yeah, our second part, our single pay also little increase. Our single pay also little bit increase if you can look at it comparatively from the last time. So that also.
And what has increased? If you can repeat, we just woke up.
I think you can't compare this thing with last quarter. The number might be coincident, agree. So your margin will depend on the product mix for that quarter, agree. So we are having the protection, we have ULIP, what Mr. Sharma has just mentioned. ULIP, we have the protection, we have the non-par, and we are doing active repricing for the non-par part as well. That will reflect, and we are doing the active asset liability matching. This will help our investment strategy, will help to manage the margin. Objective is to increase the protection, also increase the volume through ULIP, but maintain and even grow on the margin side. So that's why you might be seeing it's reflecting. So not be exactly compare that why ULIP has gone up, then margins will not go, because other product that we're selling, that their margin is higher and that proportion compensates the loss on the ULIP side.
So because protection share is at 12.6, I think that's not changed. Non-par, which is a high margin product, has also gone down. So, I mean, what seems to be the case is that ULIP, which is a low margin product, is going up, non-par is going down. Protection has remained the same. So, in that sense, somehow it doesn't really add up, but there are other factors.
Nischint, if you see individual protection premium, the share has from 6.9% in quarter 1 to 8.2% in quarter 2. So that is a significant 1.3% increase in individual protection. Even credit life had shown growth, so credit life also is marginally higher. On the other protection products are similar, so that is why see overall rated basis, total rated basis, the protection share is similar, 11.8 in quarter 1 and 12% in quarter 2. But the mix within that is favoring individual and credit life. Both are more profitable than other protection products. So that is showing the results in our margin overall.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next question is from the line of Priyesh Jain from Yes Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. Just continuing on the previous question, also is there a change in the protection margin per se, absolute percentage change on the individual side particularly, basically considering that, the price hikes wouldn't have come through in the first quarter completely and you would have raised prices from July or onwards. Something of that sort has happened in Q2 where the individual protection margins would have moved up?
No, we have not raised the pricing, so margin is intact on that basis.
Okay, so the margins basically remain the same, what used to be earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. Secondly, just one more clarification on the par business. At one point you mentioned that you have discontinued the shorter term product, and on the other side you are also mentioning that you are not looking to enter very long duration products. So is it right to understand that you're looking at a much medium term tenure of somewhere like 10 to 20 years kind of product only in the par business?
See, I think you misunderstood my answer to the earlier question. What I meant to say was that, I don't want to sell only one kind of product and skew the basket that I have. So that is the only point that I made. The question was about why you are not doing what some competitor is doing about selling more par business. So I am not going to skew my basket by selling one type of product, and that was the only point that I made. We also sell par products, so we are doing it, and we are not actually, we are not pushing products on the customer. We are actually, we have a whole basket of products. We have products for everybody from a kisan to a very rich man, okay? So what we are doing is, we are going to them with a big bouquet of products, and typically our salesman goes to them and tells them that this is what would probably be your requirement, and now you select. And then, after we tell the features of the product, he selects the product. So we don't push par products on anybody or non-par products on anybody. But it's only a question that, because of the circumstances, sometimes the non-par guaranteed product appeals to people when they're in times of uncertainty. And the par product is a traditional product, which has got a specific kind of a target. So those products will sell at those appropriate points of time. So there will be variations during, particular periods of time. But as a company, we are not pushing any particular product. What we definitely do is, we definitely try to, position some products as, which are beneficial for the customers and which have good margins, like protection, for example, which is very good for, even if you look at it society-wise, it is good for the country. So, going on a totally different level, this is an investors meet and I should be talking only profit. But typically, we don't think about that. We think about, also serving the customers that we have, and we feel that if we give the customer the product that he wants, he will come back for the other products to us. So that is a basic thing. So we are not discouraging sale of par products or anything. What I am saying is that we will not copy a competitor and push some par product just because it is selling for them.
Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Jain. I'll request you to come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. Ladies and gentlemen, please restrict to one question per participant. If time permits, please come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. Next question is from Nidhesh Jain from Investec Capital. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity, sir. Can you share the mix of pure protection in retail protection and how it has moved on a YY basis for first half?
As I said earlier, it is similar. 85% roughly is TROP and remaining 15% is pure protection.
And last year also the mix was
similar number. Not will be only marginal change compared to last year. This year will be marginally lower than last year. That's all.
Okay, sir. That's it from my side. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Next participant is Sakshi Goenka from Alchemy Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thank you for taking my question. I just wanted to understand that you are growing very well in your group savings business. I just wanted to understand what is driving this growth and what kind of margins do you earn in this business?
So group savings business is not a conscious strategy. What has happened is this year our rate, the last declared rate, has been significantly higher than LICs. So customers are putting money. Then these are all CFOs or head of HR who decide where the group fund business should go. So it is not being pushed from our side. It is that the money is coming. Historically, if you see our P&L over last 3-4 years, we have made profit on this business.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next participant is Rishi Jhunjhunwala from IIFL. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Just one question on the embedded value. So basically, we seem to have added roughly 36 billion in the first half of the year versus March. Out of that, you can see about 7.5 comes from VNB. And then even if we assume an 8% unwind, we would have probably added 10-11 billion from the unwind. So that's about 18 billion. The rest 18 billion, can you elaborate where it is coming from?
I think once we'll do this AOM, we'll come back on this, agree. So we just explained that we are in the process of AOM review by Willis Towers Watson. Once we review, then maybe a couple of days we will upload these things. That will give clear picture where the EV is growing from that number.
Okay, and so just another one of follow up on the previous question on the group saving business. Versus the rates that you have mentioned that were quoted, are the spots rate further down from there considering how the rates have gone down? And as a result, how much of that is a risk to the VNB or the VNB margins this year based on current spot rates?
So we will revise the rate as required. 31st March we have to declare rates in large chunk. So we have two products there where we declare in advance and where we declare at the end of the year. What is in advance we have already reduced, and in what is at the end of the year we will review the return we are earning and our expectation about interest rates and revise it downward if required. We have continuously revised it downward for 3 or 4 years in a row.
As of now, it's profitable? I mean, mark to market?
Yes, as I told you, in last 4 years, you see our P&L. Group savings is a separate segment. We have made money in each year.
Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Rishi. I'll request you to come back in the question queue. Next participant is Sonal Minhas from Princeton Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Sonal Minhas. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So, sir, my question was around pricing of the protection products. Have we gone for a round of repricing these products in the last quarter? And if not, what is the timeline we are looking at, if at all, for repricing these products?
So we have repriced. We have filed the product with the regulator. And we'll come back on this. Once we get the approval, we'll go to the market. As of now, we are maintaining that. We mentioned that we are maintaining the current premium rate, and it is quite profitable. But we wanted to optimize, bringing some new feature for the customer, and that's the reason we have repriced the product and we filed to the regulator for approval.
Okay. And sir, subjectively, I'm not asking comparison to competitors, but how far off from competition would be in terms of our pricing? If as of now, given that we are waiting for repricing of this product, just subjective information would be enough for me.
It will be quite competitive. So that I mentioned that we have tried to optimize the value for the customer as well value for the company. So it will be competitive because we wanted to increase the protection share. So unless you have the competitive, you can't increase the protection. So it will be competitive. It will be create value creation for the shareholder as well.
Got it. Okay. That's it from my side, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from Nitin Agarwal from Motilal Oswal. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. So I just wanted to understand what is the view on OPEX now? Like we have demonstrated very good control on OPEX ratios. So do you think that these have now gone out?
See, OPEX, we have always had a very good OPEX. Our model makes sure that we have the lowest, one of the lowest OPEX in the market. So we think that it will continue because all these advantages that we have as a company, they are still there, and they will continue to be there as in the future that I can see. And therefore, our OPEX is definitely going to be very competitive. But having said that, there will be some elements of the expenses which may be, under this, under what you call it, maybe not shown during the COVID period. So there could be a slight increase in the OPEX vis-a-vis what numbers we are seeing right now. But then it will be well in line with our target, and it will also be in line with what the kind of reduction that we've had over the last few years. We'll still be optimizing the costs, so we don't see any drastic changes out there.
Okay, sure. And just one clarification: we reported 70 basis point increase in margins on actual tax rate, but our margins on ETR has been the same. And if I disregard the assumption changes, then this number should be a much bigger increase because both the operating assumption and the economic assumption change in margin is a negative. So why the ETR margin is the same?
Sorry, effective tax. Now, effective, as we actually last time also discussed this point possibly, that if you look at it, your effective tax rate and actual tax rate now coming post that regulatory change and some taxation process change, it is coming roughly very close by. The question is that it really depends on the what types of business you are doing it. If the business are doing the pension types of product or the how much dividend you're getting for the which type of stock, that has into the impact. So effective tax when it is calculated, it really depends on your business mix coming on to your consideration. So if you look at it, the 20.2 is 20.2. It is still is flat from the last time, but it is not come down as such. Though our business part, if you look at it, different types of business mix and changing. So basically, it depends on the how much taxation impact is there for the particular product is concerned. every product not having the similar types of tax rate, based on the what tax for asset means, what type of dividend we are getting. Also at the same time, how much is the pension business versus the life business.
Okay, and this margin based on ATR is not reflecting any change in assumptions of.
No, we don't change any assumption during the, as I told you. So that is not impacting anything as of now.
Sure, sir. Thanks so much. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Next participant is Harshit Toshniwal from Premji Invest. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thank you for the opportunity. So just one question. So when we look at protection, I think we did around 190-200 crore of retail protection in 2Q, which is probably highest in the last 8 to 10 quarters, I guess, or I think highest till date. Now, this number has been very volatile. So there have been few quarters when in series we did well, but again, it has always remained a bit volatile. After 2 or 3 quarters of good growth, we again go back to a sluggish trajectory. So when we look at the 200 crore number this time, how much is the pent-up demand from Q1? And maybe in the balance half and going forward, what is the kind of number which we should go ahead with? And what has specifically helped you to do so good in retail protection this quarter specifically? Thank you.
If you see, it has not been volatile. Only volatile part was Q1 of last year, there was a big spike. Otherwise, if you exclude the Q1 of FY 19-20, on a proportionate basis, on proportion of business basis, obviously, insurance company sales are very seasonal, but as a proportion of business, if you see, it has been increasing continuously or at least steady compared to last quarter. And we do think this traction will continue in Q3 and Q4. So you exclude Q1 of 19-20 and you will see that the business is not volatile.
Got it. So, sir, right. And when I do that, sir, I think it has been improving from, say, 600-700 crore run rate in end of FY19 to it was a 200 crore run rate in this quarter. So how much of this quarter's number you think is sustainable going forward? So but this quarter there was a sharp improvement. Any guidance will be very helpful, sir.
At the moment, we do think that COVID has created heightened awareness about protection across the board. For the whole industry, that is a big benefit we are getting, at least as far as protection is concerned.
If I may just add one thing, sir. So for the industry, we have seen around 50-55% volume growth broadly. And for the industry, I think Q1 was very good, but Q2 for the industry was much lower than your number. So SBI Life has actually done phenomenally well in this quarter when we look at the number of retail protection. But yeah.
I think we have, I can give you some explanation like agencies also kicked in. Earlier only banker had kicked in. So there are other reasons, but I think that is all, optimal utilization of the channels that we have. I can't have any other explanation.
Got it. Okay. Sure. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. All the best.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Neeraj Toshniwal from UBS. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Congrats on good set of numbers. Just wanted to understand the strategy behind the agent pipeline we are adding. I think we were at 130 lakhs and overall now at 154. So current times, I think, what is the strategy we are adding so many agents despite the productive being lower, and what is the productive currently we have in terms of agent per agency per agent productive if you have, and the bank also if you have per branch?
So in agency, last year this time we had about 123,000 agents. Now we have 154,000 agents. Okay. So what has happened is that because of COVID, a lot of people were not able to sell during the first quarter. And because of all the restrictions in movement and not meeting people and all, a lot of our agents were not able to do much business. In normal terms, what would happen is that there would be some minimum business requirement and we would remove them from the roster. What we have done is we have kept all these people because they will deliver and they have started delivering. So that is one of the reasons why you will see the average productivity per agent has gone down slightly. So if you take a look at what the total number of agents who are actually active, it would be very much similar to what was there last year. And if you look at the productivity, the numbers would be slight marginally here or there. So I don't know exactly how much. Abhijit, do you have a calculation on that?
No, sir, because it is lower, 1.6 lakhs compared to, I think, 1.8.
Yeah, but 1.6 is 5 is on 1.54 lakhs, and the earlier one was on 1.23. So a rough calculation, you will see that it's almost very similar if you look at last year's numbers, and the number of people who might not have had an opportunity to really go out in the market and do it. So, but the thing that is to be seen out here is that in spite of all this COVID and everything, we have been able to add 23,000 agents, and to get the codes and to get the certifications and everything. We have done the thing, last year we added 26,000 around the same period, and this time we have added 23,000. So that is phenomenal, I should say. And if we continue like this, I am sure that each of these agents is going to give more productivity, as we can already see that the agency channel is growing quite well. And we are very sure that, this is the most productive quarter, I should say, in any year, Q3. So Q3 will definitely be very good.
Okay, thank you. So, and another question I have is on your protection split. If you have been given the limited pay, the traction where if that has increased, apart from the ROP, we were trying to push LP as well. So where are we right now, and what is the strategy going ahead?
Yeah, so the ratio continues to be 85-15, because that term insurance, though it sounds very nice to, say pure term and all that, but the effect is the same. You get a cover for a particular amount, and then you get some amount at the end of the term, and that is a symbolic amount actually, I should say, because the return of premium, if you look at the number of years that generally elapse, so it's a nominal amount compared to the number of years that the policy is running. Okay. So it's a very kind of a like baal ki khal kheenchne wali baat hai. So I think T-ROP is as good as a protection product. If you ask the persons who are covered, it serves the same purpose. So I don't think we make a differentiation here on this or that, and I think the margins are largely good in both the types of products.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Next participant is Dhaval Gada from DSP Investment Managers. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. A couple of questions. First is on the VNB margin walk that you've put on slide 9. So just wanted to understand, conceptually the sensitivity should be a very good indicator of, how the risk-free rate will impact margins. And if I look at your sort of sensitivity over the last 4 quarters, the 100 basis point reference rate impact on VONB is about 0.3 to 0.5%. So what explains this 2% kind of impact that you've had on margins? Because just across the board, this kind of drop has not happened to explain a 2% impact. So that is the first question. And the second question is just your comments around the long-term par business. So, I know you've clarified on this point, but just in terms of, typically in par business, the implicit guarantee is very, very low. So I just want to understand, and large part of the risk is also shared by the policy holder. So given that, company is more focused on customer centricity, what is the issue with offering long-term par to the customer, and in concept of design, is there any specific risk that one should be aware of, and that's the reason SBI Life is not keen to pursue on that opportunity? Those were 2 questions. Thanks.
Okay, so I will take second question first. On the par, we don't see any constraint as far as designing is concerned, as far as the risk is concerned. What we try to explain in this call, that at SBI Life, we wanted to follow a balanced product strategy. We are looking to the customer need and looking to the customer segmentations. So we are not saying that we will offer not our short-term product, and we are not saying, neither we are saying we will offer the longer-term product. What we are saying that we always have the bouquet of the product, even the par, which is short-term as well as longer-term. We look into the customer requirement. We offer a choice to customer, and depending on customer requirement, customer choose shorter pay, we will offer shorter pay. Customer choose longer par product, we will offer the longer pay par product. There is no constraint as such from SBI Life company is concerned, but we wanted to follow a balanced product mix. We are not pushing any one segment or one longer term or shorter term. So that's the second question. I hope address your concern. Coming back to the first question, see, first of things, this is the sensitivity is coming 1 quarter lag. So last quarter we have seen based on the March data. This quarter we are looking at the June quarter. So the product mix is changed in the June quarter as compared to the March quarter. So that's the reason it's coming lower.
Sorry, on the second part, sir, actually I've seen last 6 quarters data, and you can check that the deviation is 0.3 to 0.5% on VONB.
Yeah. So other point is, see, we do allow from the point of sale till valuation date, all our investment strategy fully, and as a result, as a company, if you see that we follow this stricter ALM policy, and we try to manage our asset equivalent to the liability duration, and we have taken a lot of active action on that side to reflect our company strategy on the asset side, and we do consider that in this thing. As a result, this is coming lower. Second part, we do have a dynamic pricing approach where we revisit our offering in the market in line with the offering, and try to reprice the product. As a result, you might see this sensitivity will coming down. This truly reflects the asset liability management active action and improvement that we have done on site.
Okay, sir. I'll take this offline, sir. No problem. Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Yash from Genesis Investments. Please go ahead.
Hi. Just one little question. What is driving the?
Yash, sorry to interrupt you, but your voice is not coming clear. May I request you to come on the handset and speak?
Sure. So I just have to check what is driving the growth on the other channel, like within the 600 odd crore APE, what are the channels within that other that are contributing really on the individual side?
So we have now many tie-ups, right? So we had tied up with Indian Bank and Allahabad Bank last year. Indian Bank in the second half, Allahabad Bank before that. South Indian Bank and PSB have been there with us for quite some time. This year in the first quarter we tied up with UCO Bank, and now we have tied up with Yes Bank. Of course, UCO Bank and Yes Bank have just started delivering because the tie-up is new. But the old tie-ups which we have, that is Indian Bank, Punjab and Sind Bank and the South Indian Bank, those are driving the other business essentially.
So I thought all of that would be in banca, right? Because these are banca channels.
So they are banca channels, but we are showing banca as SBI and others are being shown as others. Yes. So technically they are banca, I agree.
Right. So out of this 600 odd crore others, what is coming from online channels? Like it could be your website or Policybazaar?
Negligible amount.
Negligible. Okay. And any reason why you are still
protecting once again. Say your voice is getting distorted. Can you please come in a better reception area?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just asking, what is the reason why we are not, going fully on Policybazaar? Because, as we can see, Policybazaar is growing, possibly double 60-80%, and our competitors are sort of getting a lot of benefit from there. So what's the reason why we are not going to that channel?
I'm not very sure how much benefit anybody gets out of that, because there are a lot of things that you need to do to be visible on Policybazaar, and so all those web aggregators and all, they don't work for for free, and it's very difficult for us to do something which is outside of to make any kind of adjustments to what is not in the regulation. So I think as a matter of principle, we are not very gung-ho on that particular avenue at all. So what we are doing, of course, is that we are selling a lot of policies on the YONO platform of SBI, and that is the route that we would like to take. So we are now with all our banking channel partners, we would like to be on their websites. We would like to be on their digital platforms. We are developing a digital platform of our own. I mean, we do have a digital platform, but then we are improving it and giving it a new name, and then we'll drive the sales through these platforms as well. But as I do not think it is right to say that digital channels are more profitable, because what is actually happening is that what you see as pure digital sale is not pure digital sale. Most of the sales are assisted. So if somebody actually goes to your website and takes a look or something, there is a whole big call center which is behind there, and which people will have to call and talk to you and help you with the process. So what you look at as digital sale is not actually pure digital sale. There is very, very little buying on the digital, just people going on their own, clicking, buying. It doesn't work like that.
Right. Thank you so much. And just last question, we have been sort of consistently underperforming, the industry numbers on a individual APE basis, and even in the last couple of months. So what is, what in your view, what is the reason for this market share loss? What are the few top drivers?
Well, like I said, we do not adjust our products to market share. We go to the customers with products that they want, and then we try to, offer them the best. So there are times when we are not able to push some products, like for example, when there is no demand or something like that, by artificially changing the price to make it more attractive, or to increase the guaranteed return or something. We don't do any of those things. But what I can say is that overall the strategy seems to have worked for us. Every year we are growing. Every year our value of new business is growing. Every year our VNB margin is growing. Every year our embedded value is growing. So I think we must be doing something right. We are the top in terms of new business premium across all the private sector companies. So I think we stick to doing what we do best, and we are not trying to emulate anybody from the competition. We have seen that there are players who were growing at super speed like a rocket last year, suddenly going down, nosediving like a rocket. We don't want to be in that, तो पतंग जितनी ऊपर उड़ती है हवा में, उल्टा हो जाए तो वो सीधा नीचे बॉम्ब करता है, उसको बॉम्बिंग बोलते हैं. तो we are not in that game at all. But having said that, you can very well see that our model is very sustainable. We have been able to sell an all-round bouquet of products. We are delivering value to our customers. At the same time, we are a profitable company, and our persistency, if you look at the persistency over all categories, you will find that we have a better persistency. So that reflects the quality of sale, quality of products, quality of customers that we have and the quality of service that we deliver to our customers. And we will go with this. We do not want a sudden quantum jump in our margins at the cost of either the customer or regulation. So what we will continue to do is we'll continue to follow regulations properly, ethically sell, try to get customers who will stay with us for a long time, who will be happy to, at the time of maturity and not only at the time of onboarding. So these are the things that we do, and I think we are doing it very successfully. So we'll continue to do that.
Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Yash. I'll request you to come back in the question queue. Next participant is Mayank from Franklin Templeton. Please go ahead.
Sir, thanks for taking my question. I just wanted to, my questions were more sort of data related on the protection side where we have done so well in this quarter. So two things, sir. What is the average ticket size of our retail protection business? One. Second, if you could tell what is the contribution of the protection business to our VNBs in this one half or maybe for the quarter, split between retail and the non-retail protection. And so just one more question after that is that generally on the product margins of the savings business, if I talk about your ULIP or the participating business, how have the product margins trended over the last couple of quarters? Have they been stable or has there been some decrease in the product margins?
Well, the product margin part is very easy. There has been no significant change in the product margins. So,
the ticket size of protection product has remained roughly the same, between 18 to 20,000 per policy.
Okay, got it. And the contribution of the protection business to overall VNB?
It is around 26% of the total VONB.
In the first half, is it?
Yeah.
Got it. And fine. That would be enough. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Next question is from HR Gala from Finvest Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to know a simple thing that, why there is such a dichotomy between the individual APE premium that you show and the new business premium.
Sorry, can you come back? I think it's a question of, what is the difference between the APE and the total new business. So in total,
single premium will be taken at 100%.
Correct.
10%.
10%.
In APE it is 10% and in individual MVP it is 100%. Correct. That is the key difference. And of course there are some small monthly, quarterly mode policies, but that impact is very minimal.
Correct. Okay. Now, sir, going ahead, what do you think? Which will be the major products which will run? Now, I think, from the protection, do you think that people will go more for savings as the economy starts doing well?
See, what we have been saying and, I think we have been emphasizing is that the savings products are selling as good as anything else. The protection, there is a focus this year, and I think there will be a focus continuing in the future also because of the sudden stark, the realities that were exposed during the pandemic, and people came to know about how valuable it is to have some kind of protection, and that anybody can be affected or probably more brutally to say anybody can die suddenly of a pandemic. So that has been brought on very, very rudely to the people. So I think the protection has been emphasized, and now people are actually going out to buy protection. Earlier people used to ask, what do I get? So now they realize, what they get. So now I think that shift will be there. But apart from that, like I said, our ULIPs are selling well, and so they are growing. So probably, they'll catch up with the performance that we have done earlier, because the need for saving has not gone away. And even during the pandemic, it doesn't go away. So people who have the money, they have to put it somewhere. and with the bank deposit rate going down, they will have to invest somewhere, and plus with the protection, so there is a thing of insurance. So a lot of people think about it in terms of a dual advantage that they get, the insurance cover plus the savings aspect of it. So insurance savings products will be in favor going forward. I don't think there will be a sudden jump in anything except protection, where like I said, because of pandemic, there is more focus.
Okay. And in the unit, what has been the breakup between the equity part and the debt part? What is the customer's preference?
Yeah, so the preference is debt. So, largely what happens is that there will be, even in the equity portfolio, you will have, roughly if you say debt is 63% and equity is 37%. So there is a slight preference of debt over equity.
Okay. And that will continue?
Yeah, so more or less, so it depends a lot on the market. So if people suddenly see that equities have become riskier, some slight shift may be there. But I do believe that, the people who go for equity, they have the risk appetite. And, suddenly you can't make a person who trades on the stock market suddenly invest in fixed deposits, So that mentality difference will be there. There will be people who invest in debt. There will be people who will invest in equity.
Correct. And just a last question from my side. We have, total NBP of 9,000 crore, out of which group was 4,000 and ULIP was 2,700. A large chunk goes in these two heads. So when do you think the other businesses like individual par, non-par, and individual protection can become really big? Because they will be the main contributor to the profit margin.
I think you got it. You got it wrong. So what has happened is the group business, because of the beginning of the year, nothing else happened in the first 1.5, 2 months, and nothing happened to the group saving business because companies are there, and the gratuity, so many things have to be arranged for. Suddenly it doesn't change or go away because of the pandemic. But all the other businesses actually suffered a degrowth in the first 1.5 months. So that's the only reason why this is showing as a bigger figure out here. This is slightly more accentuated because what happens is that we have built relationships over a long period of time, and some of the corporates, would have probably decided that this is the time to invest with us. So that also has played a part.
Okay. So as we go ahead, I think probably that other part which has not grown so much should do well. Okay, fine. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next question is from the line of Ravi Naredi from Naredi Investments. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Sharma ji. Very nice result you had given. Sir, my point is there. Suppose on 1st January 2015, anyone paid yearly policy, take a yearly policy of 1 lakh rupees annual, and he has paid only one installment. And how you deal with this premium now in our accounts?
The treatment of accounting will be depending upon the kind of product. So it is be different for ULIP, it will be different for traditional. So if you are talking about ULIP, traditional. So traditional, it will be not applicable because if you have paid on 1st January 2015, so it would have gone in lapse. So technically it is on the lapse stage as far as the policy status is concerned.
So when you will take 1 lakh rupees in profit and loss account in profit side, in which year?
No, see, that is totally different as per the IIT norms. We do that. So it is totally different as far as the accounting treatment is concerned for all the traditional funds and the ULIP funds are concerned.
Okay, sir.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take the last question from the line of Keshav Binani from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, good evening. Just one clarification. You mentioned 26% of the VNB comes from protection. I would assume you were referring this to as individual protection.
Yeah. So we generally consider our credit life and individual protection